Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mind Split Cafe. My man Matt, what's going
What
on?
what's going on? How are you?
Oh
Happy
man, I can't
Friday.
call it. Yeah, happy Friday. I'm alive. That's all that matters now. And today we actually have a pretty interesting guest. Today we have Sadie. She's done a few different things that I think are really interesting as far as being on a TED Talk and being an author. So, Sadie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you both for having me. I love the mission, love the work that you're doing, and I'm grateful to be invited and be a part of it. So my name is Sadie Sanchez. I'm an author, a speaker, and I feel like probably the best way that I like to describe myself and just the essence of my being is I'm a creative soul with an insatiable curiosity. And I feel like that's driven a lot of the work that I've done up until now. I've spent the last 4 years studying human perspective, trying to understand what exactly it is, how we measure it, how a perspective comes to be. And through that work, have gotten to connect with individuals from all walks of life and really understanding why they see the world the way that they do. And that's led me to my recent book that I published called Dimensions, which is framework for self-discovery, 100 questions for people to understand their perspective. So that's a
Wow.
little bit about me.
The fact that you've done TED Talks, we've never had somebody that's that
Yeah,
cool on the show before.
no
I'm
kidding.
proud of
Kudos
you.
to you. Um,
Thank you.
and we've had authors, but I'm really intrigued by your book. And so can you give us can you give us a couple of questions? I'm just want to like what kind of questions are being asked in the book? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, yeah. um, so I've always been fascinated by the power of a question. I think that it has the ability to draw so much out of an individual and really piece together what they need to find their answers and navigate their path forward. And so
Agreed.
Dimensions is based on a framework that I've created for the 6 dimensions of perspective. So there's personal history, environment, beliefs, identity, emotions, and relationships. So each of the questions is categorized under one of those dimensions.
Wow.
The book walks readers through a 4-phase process. First, beginning. First question of the book is, what do you need to forgive yourself for? Uh,
Oh, you hit him
self-forgiveness.
right out the gate, Sadie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jesus. Like I don't even
Wow.
know if I'd get to page 2. Like, oh my God. Like,
Page
that's
one's
some
is deep enough.
that's some self-reflection type shit right there. I'm like, whoa, no, this is too deep for me. You're tapping into some emotional scars. Like, oh no, I'm not ready for this, Sadie. Sadie
I
Sanchez. Nope.
understand. I
Yeah.
It was funny because I was recently meeting with a mentor and a friend, and he's like, Sadie, I bought a copy of your book, and I was so excited. And I opened up to question 1, and he's like, I'm 40 and I've fucked up so many times. I've got a lot of things to forgive myself for. Um, and I think that with that first question, what's one thing that you could forgive yourself for that would allow you to start a new chapter and turn a page? And I think that self-forgiveness is a pathway to a new beginning, and inevitably we make mistakes throughout life, and we're always deserving of that from ourselves. So starting off the first phase with a banger. The next
Yeah.
phase of the book is acknowledging. And so really this phase of the book is geared towards extracting elements of people's history of perspective. And so really diving into your parents. What did they teach you to believe? Did you have freedom to explore beliefs? How did they like, what was their example of love for you? How were you praised for it as a child? So lots of questions really digging in there. Is there any relationships that have left a scar on your perspective? So questions really just trying to extract information from an individual so that they can piece together what they need to. Then the book goes through a releasing phase, so releasing aspects of your perspective that no longer serve you, and then rebuilding a perspective that does serve you. So the journey of the book
Oh my
comes
God.
full circle. I'm like, I didn't want to
There's so many
unravel.
dimensions to it. No pun intended, right? There's so many like
Very multidimensional.
Very
Yeah.
multidimensional, actually 6 dimensions, right? And so, I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking about, like, you lost me on question 1, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, what would I forgive myself for? Like, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
because that's such a deep question, even though it seems simplistic enough. It's so deep and it's thought provoking, and
Very
it
much
goes
so.
back to what you said. You love a question because there's that exploratory type nature to it, right?
Yes.
But I mean, geez, like, what do you do from the first question? Do the questions get harder the more dimensions you travel?
Um, I would say that in the acknowledgement phase, there are definitely some hard-hitting questions. I think that this book will definitely take you on a journey of soul searching within yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely. I'm still stuck on question 1. Like,
now
there's so many things that I can want to forgive myself for. That's really thought provoking.
I'm I'm so impressed right now because, and please take this as a compliment, you don't look a day over 28, right?
Fair enough.
Okay, so, and the wealth of knowledge that you have, and I'm just saying, like, you come across, and we just met earlier, you come across as just this old soul, and you write a book about 6 dimensions, and I'm just so impressed right now because for someone to, like, put the time, effort, focus, and dedication to this, like, I'm just, like, blown away. So kudos to you. I'm so impressed. Like, it's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, and I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
And what is your background, as far as, you just woke up one day and you wanted to write a 6 dimension book? Like, what kind of
No.
kind of kind of dive into that? Like, what is your background and where does that passion stem from?
Um, as far as like a professional or a career background, it's definitely not in alignment with what I've wrote. I got a degree in political science. I've done a
wow.
lot of design work, worked on
Okay.
apps. And so that's more of my professional experience. But
Okay.
really, this project started back in 2020.
Okay.
2020 was a very divisive time, both politically and socially. And
Agreed.
it just was hard. Like, not only was the COVID pandemic sweeping the world and claiming the lives of millions, but civil unrest was reaching a boiling point. And
Agreed.
George
I,
Floyd was around that time.
yeah,
And
I observed it on a macro level, between leadership and in communities, but also on a micro level between family and friends, saying, okay, I'm no longer speaking to you because there's a difference in how we view the world. And
isn't that insane? There's
it's
Yes.
such a
mind blowing.
there's such a divisiveness now. Like, it's, you have to be one side or the other.
Yeah, you're either blue or red, and you can't be friends with the other side now. There's a complete
Exactly.
divide.
Right.
It's insane. It's insane.
It's very disheartening and dehumanizing. And I think that I just got to a point, something sparked in me where I was really tired of hearing what people believed, and I wanted to understand why.
Oh,
You
Fascinating.
express an opinion or a belief, but did your parents teach you to believe that? Did you have a firsthand experience that led you to believe that? Did you encounter somebody that maybe altered your perspective or exposed you
Right?
to different information? And so that's where it started. And really, I would just sit across from people and spend hours like we're doing now, just being like,
Just
okay,
asking
tell me
questions.
about your
Yeah.
entire life.
You were so right. And I saw something on social media. I think it was around 2020, right? When that divisiveness was there and it was prevalent, and it was like the political climate plus the cultural climate. I think George Floyd happened then, and so
Yes.
it was like a perfect storm of just stuff, right?
absolutely.
Um, I saw something where it had to do with racism, and it was like a newborn baby does not like, and I'm probably butchered the meme, but it was like a newborn baby does not know racism because they just come out of the womb, right?
Right.
They are taught that. And so when you said earlier, like, and you're sitting there asking these questions, is it something that you were taught? Is it the environment that you were brought up in? Like, those are obviously factors into what makes you Sadie and what makes Chris and what makes me Matt, right? There's so many variables that come into it. I find that so fascinating that you would just go down that rabbit hole,
Break it
and
down.
put it down in a book. And I root for your success. This is amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. It is so fulfilling and I think really enlightening for individuals that go through the process, because we all inherit a perceived sense of reality, and you get to question that. And as you continue to chart a course for your life and going forward, it's good to ask questions and decipher for yourself, is this something that I want to believe? Is this belief helping me navigate my life? Or is it time for me to look inward and introspect and ask the right questions to figure out what I need to do? So that's kind of been my work with perspective, and it's evolved as I've continued on this path. At first, my goal was to capture as many perspectives as I could and share it with the world, hoping that it would be a solution to the divide. But through that work, I realized that the person that was benefiting the most was the person going through the process, at being asked the questions and self-discovering. And so the work shifted a little to creating a framework for people to be able to do that. But I'd like to return to sharing perspectives with the world.
So
I'm
glad you
too, because I think your perspective is unique, right? And I think it definitely needs to have a voice, and what you're doing is God's work, and I commend you for it.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you brought up that inheriting a perspective. And I wanted to ask this question, and I know I asked it off camera, but if you can kind of explain your stance on it and what you've seen through your research and your work, how does social institutions play a role in molding or shaping someone's perspective? I mean, social institutions such as a family, a church, a school, things like that. I mean, obviously that plays a huge role in it because you are inheriting it from your parents at some point. But take us down that road a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned some examples of social institutions, because that also plays into the dimensions, looking at it through a lens of your beliefs, which would be religion, looking at it through a lens of environment. Where do you live? Like, what is the environment around you? Looking at it through a lens of
demographic. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, what's the lens of your personal history, the relationship, the people that you're connected to. And I think that inherited reality is such an important concept to understand with a perspective, because until you start asking those questions, you are molded and impressionable by the people around you, and especially your parents. Perspective is a lineage. It did not start with you. Because as you're growing up, you're learning, you're developing, and it's not until you go out and experience the world for yourself that you can start forming your own perspectives based on experience. And so I think you see a lot of cases where people's parents or families have believed something for several generations, and that's just what I believe, because
that's how I was brought up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you become a product of your environment at that point.
Yeah, I never thought anything different. And so you know, in asking questions, it's not to challenge any specific institution or family values or environment. It's more to question the individual, to look inward and figure out if that's in alignment with where they want to go.
Yep.
So
now let me ask you this, and I'm just kind of throwing something at the wall, so maybe I can get like a contributor credit to the Dimensions 2 book, you know, follow up. But,
let's see.
Yeah. So what do you think, besides like Chris had mentioned about like you know, like church or, you know, demographic or where you grew up or whatever, what kind of role do you think being a part of sports teams has?
Ooh,
Oh, that's a good question.
yeah.
Because and I say this, and this is why I was thinking, because I grew up in a town that was racially divided,
Mhm.
right? And there was one side of the tracks and there was another side of the tracks, right? And so I grew up in the, you know, in the 80s and 90s, right? I graduated in 96, but I really feel, and a lot of my, you know, fellow teammates and people that played basketball and friends of mine, I really feel being a part of a sports team, whether baseball, football, basketball, whatever, man or woman, it doesn't matter. I think that really helps break down those barriers of, hey, because you look different than me, I'm supposed to judge you or I'm not supposed to like you. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the stigma. I think being part of those teams where it doesn't matter what you look like, we're about to go into this battle or this game, and I need you as a teammate and I'm your teammate. So I have your back. And
Yeah.
after a while it starts to break down those walls of, or the stigma of, hey, you know what? You're no different than me. You just look different than me. You know what I'm saying? And so it's, you know, I'm just curious to get your opinion on, what do you think sports teams, how that factors into it? Playing
Yeah.
sports.
I think that that's a really great point. Admittedly, I haven't just specifically zeroed in on sports teams, but I think that
That's the
broader
book two. Book
is,
two.
That's your credit right there. That's your credit.
That's my credit.
I
I'll
think
send you my
broader
name so
than
you
that.
spell it right.
All right, I got you. I got you.
All right. Thanks,
I
Sadie.
think
I'm
broader
pretty
than
good.
that is fostering a sense of community. And I really love, you know, Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness. One of her points in there to finding a sense of belonging and overcoming some of this is to get closer to the individual. Like it's
Yep.
easy to hate people or make assumptions about people from afar, but when you're getting close to people and you're seeing them and their humanity, then it's really difficult to hate people because you see a part
Yeah.
of yourself in them. And I think that a sports team is a really good facilitation of that, where you're bringing people from all walks of life together, but you're also in your most vulnerable moments as a part of this
Yeah.
community. You know, you're winning, you're losing, you're going through all the emotions, you're training hard, you're putting a lot of your heart and soul into it. And so I think that community in general, whether it be in the form of a sports team or otherwise, is really important in shaping a perspective and also bringing a sense of social cohesion together as well.
Agreed. Agreed. I think so many people, I tell everybody, if you're an athlete and you can play a sport, play. Not so much so you can get NIL money or go professional or whatever, because those are few, the percentages are very small, right?
Few and far between.
But you should play just because of what you learn about people, how you interact with people, how you deal with problems and people, right? Like there's so many life lessons that can be taught through the game of sport and
Absolutely.
You gain a
competition.
new perspective too, just by
Yes.
playing with other people and how they
Yes.
view the sport.
Agreed. And you know what? I've had teammates that I absolutely love, and I've had teammates that I absolutely can't stand, but they're teammates nonetheless. And it has nothing to do with where they're from, what they look like, you know, that sort of thing. It's more like, I just, you and I don't mesh well as people, you
You
know?
don't mesh with their perspective.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And we're still teammates, like we're still former teammates. We played in the game, but it's one of those things, you need to have a child in sports just to teach those life lessons that you might try to convey as a parent that go in one ear and out the other, you know?
Yeah.
And so
It also gives the child the ability to challenge the inherited perspective, because now they're
exactly.
getting the perspective from their family, and now they're getting a perspective from a teammate, and they're able to form their own.
Yes.
And I
Agreed.
think that, you know, going, oh, two things here. I think going into like what you said about growing up in where you were from that's racially divided, perhaps like your parents may have had experiences that created stigmas against people that look a certain way. But when you're on a team and you know, perhaps interacting with those people yourself and forming your own experience, then that can look a lot different than a secondhand experience. And I think too, there's so much power in teams, and I feel like societally, like we've got to return to that. We're living in a very individualistic, me society,
yes.
and
That is very true.
And I think that all stems from social media, right? Because when you're doing a TikTok, who is it? Not necessarily. It's you,
Me.
you know, or if you're doing an Instagram live or you're trying to be an influencer, hey guys, it's me, da da da, whatever. I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to, it's that individual. And it goes to what you were saying, Sadie, me, look at me, look at me, look at me, you know, and that being part of sports, it just doesn't really allow you to think that way. It changes those brain patterns and those waves, you know. So
yeah, and I think the rise of information and the access that we have to it has kind of created um this sense of I can do everything myself. I can do everything. I have access to all the knowledge.
Yes, that is
And
true.
just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like there is so much power in
just because
in diversifying, getting to know other people, working together, and highlighting people's skill sets. And I think that, you know, on a macro level, we need to see a return to more cohesion and teamwork.
Agreed. Just because you can run for president doesn't mean you
Doesn't
should,
mean you
right?
should.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not gonna touch on which candidate I'm referring to, but just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? And so, you know, it's I'm all for the cohesion and all for like getting back to a sense of community because, you know, I had a coach use this analogy one time. We were playing basketball in practice, and it was like one of those moments where I was just trying to just like take over practice, right? And he was like, "Oh, you want to do it all yourself, huh?" And I was like, "Coach, I'm just trying to win." He was like, "All right, so inbound the ball by yourself. You can't do it. Like if I was to inbound the ball, another teammate has to touch the ball before I can touch it, right?" So he was trying to give me a lesson of you have to have a team to be successful. You know, it takes a village, right, so to speak. And I think going back to what you were saying, having that sense of community will help foster success because you're doing it with a group of people, like-minded people that want success, that want the same things that you want for your community, for yourself, for your family, whatever it is. But those people will help you perpetuate success, however you identify success, you know.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's more fulfilling that way as well, to be able to go through that with other people. You don't want to go
Agreed.
to the end of the road alone.
No, you don't.
I mean, I don't. Maybe some people.
No, I totally agree. And I can totally see why you kill it at TED Talks. Like I'm just so impressed by you. I think you're amazing, and I'm so fortunate that you blessed us with your time on the show today.
You're so kind. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated it. And I actually have a question for you guys. Is that
No,
okay?
that doesn't work on our show.
Yeah, do you have time?
We don't answer questions.
No. We're divisive like that. We don't do that. No.
No, I have to stand for interrogation.
No, go ahead. What's your question, Sadie?
So I got to know Chris a little bit before coming on here, Matt. I haven't heard your whole story yet, but I'm just curious because I know, Chris, you've been on a journey of self-discovery and healing. And I'm curious, what has been one of the biggest perspective shifts that you've had throughout your life and your time?
Ooh,
That's a good question. That's a deep question.
One of my biggest, you know, when just in this year that we've done this show, and this is Chris's baby, Mind Split is his idea. and I helped. I'd like to take a little bit of credit to help him get it to get it on the air, but he's allowed me to be a co-host, so I get to be the fly on the wall, so to speak, and
It's
meet
that
with people
community.
like you and and therapists and just different clinicians and just different people in the mental health, mental wellness, world, right? Recovery, whatever. I think what I've learned, what I've taken away from this is if you feel that anxiety, you feel that stress, it's temporary. And so if you know that what you're going through and what you're feeling is merely temporary, and I'm not saying it's easy, but you know that you're going to get through it. So if you have that like grounded perspective, like, okay, I'm feeling anxious, take a deep breath, get rid of the intrusive thoughts because it will lead you down. It will be like an avalanche. It'll just keep coming, right? And so being mindful of, this is the space I'm in right now. I recognize that there's anxiety or anxiousness. Take a deep breath. It will pass. There's always a solution for the problem. And once you solve that problem, typically the anxiety goes away, and 9 times out of the 10, the anxiety that you felt would happen, or the negative things you thought would happen based on that anxiety, don't happen anyways. So you just wasted your time running your head around in circles thinking the sky is falling, And so I've been blessed to be a fly on the wall for this year that we've done the podcast. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, is just be mindful and be present in the moment you're in, and then understand, hey, I've got these tools in my tool belt to combat this. And that's my answer. I know it was long-winded, but that's what I've taken away from it.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and off camera.
No more questions for you. You already got 100 in your book. Go out now. Where can you find your book, Dimensions? Where can we buy it?
Currently it's on my personal website, www.sadietsanchez.com.
Sadie D Sanchez?
T for
T. Okay. Sadie, SADIET Sanchez.com. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
We'll put a link in here too for everyone.
We'll definitely do a link. Sadie T Sanchez, and you can buy it right off of the website.
Yep. It's available for purchase.
Nice. I cannot wait. Chris is already gonna buy us 3 copies.
Yeah, I already have it ordered right here. I have it up ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
I don't know why we need 3 copies though. I read one.
Oh no, we're gonna do it as a giveaway. We're gonna do it as a giveaway for somebody on Mindsplit. We'll do a raffle or something, and we'll give away Dimensions.
Good thoughts. So while we're still on camera, what is the question that people need to answer correctly to win the giveaway?
I don't know that yet. I'm always thinking ahead. How can we have engagement with the viewers? We've done giveaways in the past. They were really successful. I think having, that kind of, that a popular book like Dimensions by Sadie Sanchez would definitely be something that would kind of invoke some excitement with our listeners. So I have no idea what that giveaway is yet, but that's why I said 3, three different
copies.
3 copies, right?
I got an idea of the question.
Let's hear it.
I think maybe bringing it back full circle to where we started. What are you ready to forgive yourself for? I think that a lot of the work that you guys do is helping people focus on new beginnings and new ways of looking at their life and their pathway forward. And I think that's really important, valuable work that you guys do. So just a suggestion.
We'll run with that one. And they have to follow you and follow your Instagram.
Yeah. What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram?
At Sadie T Sanchez.
Sadie T Sanchez. Okay.
I continue to post questions weekly.
Oh,
Perfect. That
okay.
is
I'm
awesome.
gonna follow you from my personal one right now. And so if you see some weirdo always commenting on the like, hey, that's a great question, Sadie, that would be me, right? So you don't
So
have to
Sadie,
block me.
I have a question that I want you to take with you,
There we
and
go.
because I know you'll be able to answer it right away, but answer it on, if you don't mind doing this, answer it on a post or a video and tag us and see if we can get other people to answer it. And the question is, what do you think is the most inherited perspective that people go through, that
Ooh,
people inherit?
Ooh, I love that one. Okay, let
ooh.
me write it down.
I think I know what it is. Matt, think about it too, and then
I'd like to
we'll.
give my answer
Okay.
right now.
What do you think is the most important? Was that what you said?
No, the most inherited. Like
The
which
most
one
inherited.
that people don't question, don't challenge, they just take it and they live it.
And then
Okay.
this is my answer.
Wait, I don't think you should answer yet.
Yeah, I don't think you should
You'll
answer it.
steal
I want to
the
answer.
let's
I
do
want to
No,
answer.
it.
because you probably have the right answer, or the
No,
answer that I'm thinking.
I definitely don't have the right answer. I
I
know I
think
There's
don't.
no right or
you'll
wrong
steer
answer to it,
you'll
but
steer the public.
Okay. We'll wait for I'll tell you my answer off camera. But
Okay,
that
deal.
works. And then we'll do it public with the
yeah,
rest. That
I think
works.
but
that's a great question. I love running polls on my post and like kind of gathering the data too to
ooh.
see.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Thank you for
Now
that.
what do you do with the data? I mean, I know you're not selling it to third party vendors and giving away social security numbers and things like that, right? That's just a joke, right? Because there was a commercial right now on TV about like compromising data and whatever, right? But what do you personally do with the data that you compile? Like, is it going into research for your next book, or like what do you how do you how do you use the data that you compile?
So with my initial interviews, I did over 150 interviews, and a lot of that research did go into making dimensions.
I love that.
Now I like to run like public polls and have people vote on them, and that really is giving me more data to ask better questions,
I
more
love
zoomed
that.
in questions, and just continue learning. And it's publicly visible. I think it's also really interesting for other people to learn from and seeing how many people are answering similarly to them who have had similar experiences. So
Yeah.
I'd love to continue to synthesize it in ways that are helpful to continue researching and helpful for the people exploring their perspectives. But
Well, you are definitely a blessing, and thank you so much for joining the show this week. Like it's been such a awesome ride, and your perspective, like I said, you just come across as an old soul, and it's really refreshing. And I say that with trust me, that's a compliment.
I
Uh,
take it as a compliment.
I find it so refreshing that you are on a quest that you're on and asking the questions that you ask because people are learning from you, and that's one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody is knowledge, you
Well,
know.
I
And
think
so
a lot of people don't think about these things. I don't think that perspective or the way we form our perspective really crosses anyone's mind. So it's
yeah,
phenomenal that you bring it up and you actually stimulate people to start thinking more.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I love it. It's my purpose. It's my
Well, so
passion.
last question before we get out of here, what is the next book? What are you working on right now? Can you give us a hint? Is it Dimensions 2? Is it the multiverse? Like
That's a
what do you
multiverse.
what are you working on right now? Like what can your audience and your fans and you know the mind split audience, what can we be looking forward to coming in the next couple of years or months from Sadie T. Sanchez?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that
Oh,
I
you
have,
don't like that question, huh? You don't like that question.
you're trying to expose me. No, I have a lot of books that I want to write. It's more
Okay.
prioritized to figure which one I want to do first. I definitely will be doing sequels, zeroing in on each dimension, and having a book specifically for that dimension. But I also write a bit of poetry, which
Okay.
I that won't be coming out for a while, but I
Okay.
um am working on a poetry book called
I love
Humanity
that.
Hiding. So
Okay. I
um
love the creative
that'll
side.
That'll come out at some point.
And please, when you write your next book or the sequel to Dimensions, the multi-dimensional verse or whatever you want to call it, I better get my contributing credit. Okay.
Yes,
So
I will.
when you-
I'm gonna have a whole section of sports just
I
for
want
you.
my whole chapter.
Make
just
your own
sports.
personalized.
Yeah. And I will contribute to that. You just tell me and I'll give you my little bits and pieces. So yeah,
Okay,
I would
deal.
love that.
I'm
That'd be
excited for that. I want to see that one.
Yeah, me too. She's gonna forget about me. She's gonna blow up and she's gonna forget about me. So
She's about to
totally
block
get
you,
it.
Matt.
I'm not gonna forget about you. You guys are both very memorable, and I love what you're doing.
Well, we hope you had a great time
Thank
here on
you.
Mind Split Cafe. Please tell all your friends and share. And the episode, you know, it lives on YouTube and Spotify, so you can always come back and I can always come back and answer your questions, the one you ask me, and really be thought provoking and be like,
That is true.
my answer might be different than what it was today, So
yeah, Chris
anyways.
escaped that question.
Yeah, no, I did.
Chris did escape it.
I answered it off camera at one point, but yeah, I
Yeah.
got to skip it this time.
Well, until
But
next
what
week.
I'll say instead of my answer, I'll just let the other people, the listeners, know that our newsletter comes out bi-weekly. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. It's now up and running along with our digital magazine too.
Yep.
Awesome.
So thank you for 610 for creating the new website, creating the digital magazine, and the actual layout of the entire magazine. Super excited for the next issue.
Yep.
Excited.
We'll get Sadie as a contributor for the magazine. We'll get her an article or something.
Yeah, we already got that going, right?
I think that's awesome. We'll get her in the book. I mean, we'll get her in the mag. All right, till next week, guys. Mind
Thanks so
Splitters.
much.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks. See you next week.